After 2 days of watching the collapse of TriMet and the collapse of Portland and the collapse of Multnomah County, it will now be time to continue our our great joy of watching this ridiculous shit show. I got to tell you, I was working there in 2008 when they had that 10 days of ice, and even during that disaster, it wasn't as bad as this disaster in terms of a complete catastrophe. I mean, they had hundreds of buses stranded out here. There's so many calls. I mean, if you wouldn't know anything about the reality that was happening on the ground at TriMet, unless you read my Twitter or Real Pootie's Twitter or PDX Scanner Twitter, we were the only three people covering the action of TriMet during the last few days and the collapse. It was just incredible shit show. And you would never know that because nobody else brought it up. The lamestream media only interviewed people that said TriMet saved their lives, and you see the shills, the countless shill. I mean, Twitter has become such a garbage dump of pro-state baloney now. I mean, it's used to be able to actually hear some dissenting voices on things, and now you have to seek them out. You have to know where to look to find dissenting voices at this point. Because if you're going to just do Twitter and not know where to look, you're going to just get all this mainstream garbage that's always lying to you constantly. It's just lie after lie after lie. So yeah, it was a giant shit show. Operators were stranded for hours, 12, 14, I think some of them were even 16 hours in their buses. You could hear the despair in their voices. Riders were dumped in the ditch in the middle of a fucking snowstorm. It was an actual humanitarian disaster. Nobody knows it except the few people that follow the few of us. Everybody else thinks, oh, TriMet came through in a clutch, and it's completely false. Yeah, sure, some buses ran. And sure, there's some stories of people who successfully navigated to where they needed to go. But the general rule was it was collapsed. Okay, I'm not making that up because I quote, hate TriMet. No, I'm reporting the facts, okay, as I see them. I report what I hear and see, and it was a disaster of epic proportions. And they sent out some public relations hack to talk to the media. All of the executives nowhere to be found. All of the office workers sitting at home having a nice hot chocolate. Meanwhile, the operators are suffering unbelievable torture in this. Now, I'm not surprised because, TriMet is a complete mess. It was a complete mess before this. So obviously, you throw in a storm, which the city and the county are not capable of dealing with because you have this corrupt government over there. Not, the city and county don't know how to handle snow. They don't care. They just so you had all these hundreds and hundreds of abandoned cars on the roads, and it was just a huge disaster in Portland. Not reported anywhere. I didn't see any report. You saw a lot of tweets of these cars and stuff, but it really was a huge disaster, folks. And it's a shame because nothing will be done, nothing will be changed. TriMet's not the place it once was. Just basically operating, on a shoestring at this point. Management is just horrible over there. The decisions they make don't seem to make sense. And this is the result. And even today, roads are still blocked. I mean, for somebody from Massachusetts, this is just unbelievable. I know the excuse is it doesn't snow in Portland. That does not excuse it. That is not an excuse. Government's role is to be ready for this. But government is never ready, whether it's here in New Orleans, the train explosion, the floods, whatever it is, government will not be there for you. And I hope people understand that. You are on your own. Do not expect assistance. You ride TriMet at your own risk. Okay, when things are going great, yeah, you'll get there eventually. When it's bad weather, stay away from that system. I mean, I know that if it's really you're getting a snowstorm or an ice storm, don't go near it. Stay far away from TriMet because it's not going to operate efficiently. I mean, I guess the Macs never shut down, but there are all kinds of glitches and turnbacks. Very inefficient operation. And nobody covered the story except the three of us over on our little Twitters that nobody pays attention to. And you have Dan over there, good old Dan, posting all these pictures of how great. Look at us, we're here for the storm. We're doing great. We're all working hard. Yep. Good for you, Dan. I'm sure glad you think everything is lovely and you have 100,000 followers just loving everything you say. You've really achieved the pinnacle of social media success. So congratulations to you. It doesn't help the situation, but obviously you're interested in your own notoriety more than actually telling the truth about anything. But that's your business, not mine. So with that, let's continue to watch these puppets pretend that they know anything or that they do anything, because they don't know anything and they don't do anything. That we know for a fact. I've posted the 2 clips where they explain why they're doing a fare increase because of the banks, and secondly, how the board only does what the management tells them to do. So we know for the record, out of Simmons' own mouth, how this works. So let's watch this fake show that they have here.
Participants online? No. All right. I will now close the public forum and we will open the business meeting. And our first order of business is the board reports. And I will ask Director Edwards to provide an update on the latest meeting of the Committee on Accessible Transportation.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. The last CAT meeting was last Wednesday, February 15th. There was some discussion regarding implementing secret shoppers to encourage operator best practices. And I don't know if all of you know what secret shoppers are, but that's more or less a term that is used for folks that are kind of keep an eye on and maybe take notes and just check out what's going on the transit. New officers.
They had that when I was there. They went around busting us and making up lies, as a matter of fact, about our behavior. They lied. I was a victim of that, where they actually lied. I had the proof of it that they lied, but they had me in a box, you see. If I provided the proof, they would have gotten me for violation of the no recording on duty. So I couldn't actually take out my proof, other than I told them, I know you're lying. That was just before I ended up leaving. But they already had the secret shoppers shit.
Will be elected in June for the CAT. A nominating committee was impaneled, and there are 10 applicants with 7 current and 3 new positions that will be open.
What?
Video presentation should not use red on black graphics.
What?
Or yellow graphics for charts and graphs.
What?
This is a challenge for individuals who are colorblind. And so I think folks that are doing presentations need to be aware of that, specifically staff. Newer vans and buses may need to be retrofitted to protect riders and pets from heaters. The CAT should be an integral part of the design of new vehicles regarding access and integration. And this is really very important because, we spend a lot of money on buses and light rail. And then when they get here, then we have to retrofit them because there are things that we didn't see before because we didn't have the I'm not gonna say the right folks, but we didn't have folks that have disabilities looking at those things.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? They buy buses, and they never let operators have input. They never let the riders have input. In the case of the disabled, they never let the disabled have an input. That's why these board meetings are a complete farce, because all of the people on this board are from the elite culture of the Portland area. None of them are transit dependent. None of them know anything about being an operator. They're just elites that Kate Brown liked for one reason or another.
And making sure that everything was kosher. TriMet should also consider a reduced fare for Lyft riders. Lyft riders pay the same, as you heard in testimony this morning. Lyft riders pay the same $5 for 2 rides as other riders pay for all day on fixed route buses. The term reduced annual fare was also suggested as an alternative to honored citizen fare. Time should be extended for public comment. Well, this morning we didn't have much public comment, but sometimes we do, and sometimes that time maybe should be considered to make sure everyone has an opportunity to speak. Ongoing issues and concerns were around several topics. Of course, at the top is the fare increase. I encourage the CAT members to provide testimony, both oral and written, to influence the TriMet board. Wayfinding is critical as well, with the CAT scheduling field trips, along with the suggestion that accompanying staff simulate persons with disabilities. And I think this is critical as well, so they can have a better understanding of what is incurred by folks that have disabilities when they ride TriMet. Elevators that have been compromised is a major concern, as you heard this morning. The elevator.
You mean elevators that are out of service more than they're in service? Yeah, those elevators
are useless if they cannot be used. And I know there's some challenges there in regard to making sure that elevators are available, and either having to more or less have somebody monitor the elevators or keep them locked during certain hours. But that needs to be looked into to make sure that folks aren't inconvenienced when they're if they're getting ready to come up on a stop where they're going to get off on the elevator and then they can't use that elevator. They've got to go to the next stop. That's very challenging and very disruptive. The elevators. It is a huge inconvenience if trips had to be altered. To qualify for honored citizen fare, you have to meet one of 4 criteria: 65 plus, Medicare, low income, or disability. And I'm curious as to why we haven't looked at ways to examine that status, as we have, folks that meet more than one criteria. Perhaps they should have a different status in regards to their fare. We received a service report with increases to ridership. However, we are 30 operators short for Lyft services. Currently, there are 10 potential operators in training, down from 15. Generally losing operators to fixed route. Quarterly town hall meetings are being held with employees to listen and hear their concerns, and that's a good thing. There was a concern raised regarding pass-ups. What was the policy and when was it last updated? Sometimes folks are at the stops and they may have a service animal with them, or they may be have a mobility device and they get passed up, and there needs to be a reason why, or at least someone needs to stop and say, hey, we can't take you on because we don't have a room. Some reason, instead of just passing folks up and leaving them standing there. Excuse me. Alan Lado gave an overview of the business plan, which was a very comprehensive report and a very good report as well. Clayton Thompson also informed the CAT of the upcoming Blue Line maintenance and improvements. That's going to be a 24-hour-a-day operation starting April 16th through May 6th.
More pork barrels coming, folks. The Blue Line maintenance and what did he say? And whatever. Just another goddamn pork barrel.
And there'll be a shuttle service, and there'll be notifications that go out to folks that are going to be impacted by that.
No, they're going to be closing the Blue Line. How great. I mean, they disrupt their own service. It's not bad enough you have regular disruptions. You disrupt your own service.
That. And that information will come out 2 weeks prior to the interruption. And that concludes my report.
Okay.
wasn't a bad report, but what good is it? None of that stuff will be implemented.
Thank you very much, Director Edwards. Are there any questions or comments about the CAT report? Hearing none. Next on the agenda is a report on the Finance and Audit Committee, and I will give that report. The committee met this morning, and there was one item on the agenda, and that was the annual review of the TRIMET investment policy. A couple of amendments are being proposed by staff this year, primarily around strengthening internal controls regarding standards of care and also authorizing retaining an investment manager in order to provide a more strategic approach to
Yes, you need an investment manager. We must find an investment manager to provide a strategic approach. We'll pay him $200,000 a year, and he'll provide a strategic approach.
Managing investments. The Finance and Audit Committee had a discussion of that proposed amendment, and I would like to let the board know that at a future meeting, the board will be voting on that change in the investment policy. Yeah, and that is the report. Happy to answer questions. Yeah. Next on the agenda for board reports is an update from Director Kim on the Metro Policy Advisory Committee. Director Kim.
Good morning. At the January 25th AMPAC meeting, Metro presented an update on their high-capacity transit HCT strategy. This is a key policy focus area of the 2023 Regional Transportation Plan, the RTP update. High-capacity transit is the highest form of regional transit, moving large numbers of people quickly between towns and regional centers with dedicated right-of-way for transit. The HCT strategy considered a number of factors to evaluate readiness for HCT investment over the coming decades. And the study resulted in a set of tiers, identifying Tier 1 corridor, where planning is already underway, including Southwest Corridor, 82nd Avenue, TV.
Southwest Corridor, they voted no, but we're doing it anyway, folks, because we're the elites and you're the serfs. We don't give a fuck what you say. We do what we want.
Highway and so forth, the Yellow Line extension to Vancouver. There were 8 Tier 2 corridors identified with emerging regional priority, meaning...
They're planning this shit even though they're not operational now. I mean, the place isn't even really operational, and this is what they're spending their money on. And this is how they roll, you know. They're completely separate from real life. They've got their own little world with unlimited money to spend on it, and this is what we get from our government now, this nonsense.
These are the corridors the region is most likely to look to next for the increased transit investment. Other corridors were identified as Tier 3 or 4, which indicate a future demand or need for HCT, but not where more work and investments will be needed to yield a successful HCT project. Ridiculous. And of course, MPAC members, we provide feedback on this plan to ensure that we're best leveraging federal funding to meet the needs of the communities that we represent and also meeting our regional goals. During that meeting, Metro also provided a summary of their garbage and recycling system facilities plan, and MPAC will be meeting again tonight, where we'll vote on new committee members and consider upcoming urban growth boundary decisions. Thank you.
Great.
All right, thank you, Director Kim. Any questions about the MPAC report?
Oh, yeah.
For our final report this morning, we'll ask Director Way to give an update on the Transit Equity Advisory Committee.
The Transit Equity Advisory Committee, Rippy. Equity, my ass.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Well, we throw a lot of acronyms here at TRIMET. So I have the pleasure of giving the last report, which is TAC, the Transit Equity Advisory Committee. So several things. We heard a couple different updates from staff. First is the bus fleet transition project. This is a $5 million project to support the electric infrastructure to support electric vehicles. We also heard an update for Call to Artists for cultural bus wraps. Many of you, I know I've seen.
Yes, we have money for that. Lots of money for all these other things, but sorry, the service is not operational.
Several of these bus wraps that really celebrate, different heroes in the community. And so staff shared some photos that have been displayed to commemorate specifically Rosa Parks Day and also February being Black History Month. And many of you may have also heard and hopefully have written our system on February 4th, which was observing Rosa Parks Day. That was a free transit equity day.
Yes, we like the virtue signal. We're very much into that. We like to pretend that we actually care about you. It's very important that we pretend that. Sure, we're leaving you in the ditch, but we supported Rosa Parks.
That community organizers, many different community organizations across town put together several years ago. So really exciting that happened. And there is also, as many of you also know, an increase to the fare proposal. There's a survey that is going to close at the end.
I'm sure it's going to show widespread support for the fare increase.
Of the week on February 25th, and so far 4,000 surveys have been submitted, and so staff is really working.
If you look at the survey, you'll see it's your typical TRIMET survey, which doesn't actually ask you, do you support a fare increase, yes or no opinion. That should be the survey. Instead, it's this whole litany of other diffusive questions. There's typical TRIMET survey, which is always created to manufacture the consent for whatever the hell they're doing.
To mine through the data, the responses, and also working on a potential mitigation plan, layering in Title VI concerns.
Title VI. No, actually, it meets Title VI. You're screwing everybody. Of course, you're screwing the poor the most. But at least everybody's getting screwed, right? So that meets the standard, right? Is that how it works? I think so.
And we also received an update on job openings and upcoming hiring events. And members also received an update on TIAC membership recruitment. The community engagement team has been working very hard to actively recruit potential member organizations. And this application is going to remain open until March 1st. So if you are a community-based organization that, works to provide social services or
a community-based organization, which another word for a parasite organization,
works with transit-dependent folks, and you are in Multnomah, Clackamas, or Washington County, please reach out to our outreach staff who would love to add your voice as a member of TIAC. And we also heard a lot of discussion as well as feedback and concerns around the Hollywood Hub project. And so just, we heard from some of the testimony this morning that members expressed concerns around accessibility. There is an 8% grade for a ramp that is going up.
8%,
and
Jesus.
Even though it is within ADA guidelines, it is also just a very steep ramp for a lot of older and disabled folks who will need to use it. So that was one of the concerns that was expressed. There are also concerns that you heard this morning around elevators always breaking down. There really needs to be a backup option for folks who need to rely on elevators. We also received feedback on making connections easier, i.e. more crosswalks, user-friendly, like the transit mall. And members also wanted to see real-time signage for bus and max time arrival times, keeping in mind, again, the accessibility of information for visually impaired folks. And I'm almost done. We also received, similar to Kat, a presentation on TRIMET's draft business plan. The current plan is is currently up for review, and this includes fiscal years 2024 through 2028. There is a public comment period happening right now just around TRIMET strategies, goals, purpose, etc. It's available online, and this comment period closes on March 1st.
Yeah, great.
And last but not least, there were a lot of continued conversation around the fare increase proposal from members. Some members encouraged TRIMET to consider an audit on where resources are going or have been spent.
That's a good idea. I would sure love to know where all that CARES money, all that government money went, because it was meant to keep your staffing levels and your bus levels consistent, so you wouldn't have to cut service. But that's not what TriMet did. They cut service, took the money, and who knows what they did with it. I'm sure it went to capital projects, because that's what they do there. You know, they funnel that money right to the elites of that area.
And also just where the perception of safety is. And then
Safety?
engagement.
There's no goddamn safety on the TriMet or anywhere else in this country now. This is a collapsing society, and it's everywhere around you.
Staff, again, walk through the fare increase proposal, the timeline, including some of the outreach and the reporting for the Title VI. And members specifically requested information about the engagement efforts and a report out of the items heard during the open houses for the fare increase proposal. And then lastly, I just want to say for folks who weren't able to make some of the open houses that we had around the fare increase, you're always more than welcome to show up at our board meeting, submit your comment and your testimony via email. There's still a lot.
Yeah, go ahead. Submit your comment, your testimony for what good it does, which is zero.
Of opportunities to give input before the May fare increase decision happens. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Director Way. Any questions on the TIAC report? We're asking the board to ask questions about the reports. If you have any questions, though, we're happy to have you. Let me give you an email address, if you don't
Shut
mind.
up, sir. Don't bother
We're happy
us.
to have members of the public
Shut up, sir. Don't
provide
bother
further
us.
written testimony or questions at the following email
Don't
address.
bother us.
It's boardtestimony@trimet.org. We'd be delighted to hear your comments, so please feel free to use that address.
Yeah.
All right, we'll now turn to General Manager
Well,
Dessou for his month.
As much as I want to, excuse me, I'm always not prepared eating when I'm watching these. Completely unprofessional as I am. I know his report. I always like his report, but I can't do much. I can only do so much at that board meeting, okay, and that's enough for now. But let's see if we can find any great calls here. I want to find that one guy. There's that one guy that I want to. These are all the calls from Pootie and Rippy. I want to find the one guy that kind of. Where is he, man? Where are you? Wait, let's just hear this one.
Hello, 8738. All right, looks like you're stuck 102nd northbound at Prescott. Yes, please come save me, please.
Okay, did you hear the desperation in her voice there? She is desperate. These are all, you know, let me point out too that when Rippy and Pootie are doing the calls, they're probably getting maybe 25% of them. when I'm doing them, you're only going to get like 10 to 15% of them. I'm not as fast as they are. So this is just a sampling. Most of the calls we can't listen to. It's not physically possible to listen to all these calls. So they pull out a few of the great examples. Let me see. I want to find, what's this one?
2034. 2034.
You hear her breathing heavily. She's panicked, all right.
We have you on Burnside, Hermosa. I got your priority. What's going on there? The bus is slippery by itself. Even if I put on the brake, I still slide. You shouldn't let anyone come from here.
That's what they do. Having been in this position, I know exactly what she's going through.
Anymore, it's too slippery. Okay, are you in a good spot? Just tie it up. I got so slow and I put the chain on, but still it's so dangerous. I copy. Are you rolling right now, or are you tied up? I stopped for a while and then I keep.
Poor thing. Boy, you gotta feel sorry. Where is that guy? I want that one guy. I want that one. Oh, here's a passenger.
7206. 7206. I got your emergency medical. I have a lady on here who's diabetic, and it's been 7 hours. She needs her. She needs food, and like hours ago, she says, yeah.
Yep, she's been stuck on that bus with him for 7 hours. Not gonna hear that on the mainstream media, folks. Everything's great. Now here's the guy. Now this guy, I've been following him. He's got a very distinctive voice, so I always recognize his calls, and he kind of sums up the whole thing.
7247. You gonna send anybody for me to take me home or take me to garage? Because I'm really hungry. I need to use the bathroom, and I stuck here for 6 hours or over 6 hours, and I woke up at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Sir, I understand your situation. This is something that we unfortunately run into on most of our snow events. We're not going to have, when somebody comes to you, they'll be coming to you to get you unstuck so you can drive the bus back to the garage. Until then, we have.
That's not what happened, by the way. She's wrong.
To have you stay with the bus, you're pretty much there until we get somebody to you. We've been working hard trying to make that happen, but as I explained to you earlier, we've got a lot of buses that are stuck. A lot of them have been stuck out there since this afternoon. A lot of them have been stuck on their buses for 8 and 9 hours. So we're doing the best that we can do. I can say is to just, do the best you can. If you need to run your bus to stay and do that, but I don't have anything else at this point that I can tell you differently.
I have a lot of cars behind me, a lot of cars in front of me. I don't know how he is.
Yeah, he's stuck. He's in that highway mess. You saw the pictures. I don't know if you did or not, but I saw the pictures of all the cars and trucks that were just stuck all behind each other.
Not push me from here. This is the reason I want to keep the body pick me up to cars front to me need to clean the way first, and I can't drive the bus like that.
The crew that comes out to help get that bus straightened out will make sure that the car is moving to get you off of that ramp. I can't have you abandoning the bus, so we can't have you leave the bus there. We can't have somebody come and pick you up and take you off the bus. I know it's not what you want to hear, but unfortunately we have...
This dispatcher is pretty goddamn mean. She's mean. I gotta tell you, she's mean.
drivers that are in your same situation every year that we have this type of situation. It's one
I've never had it this bad before. Not even 2008 was like this.
of those chances that we take being bus drivers. I've been there. Other people in the room have been there, and we've been stuck sometimes for 12 hours.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I was stuck once for that. I never got stuck because I didn't know how to drive. It was always the chains broke. That's what ended up getting me stuck.
But is what it is.
It is what it is.
You can
Well, that's really comforting. It is what it is. Thank you, dispatcher. Great empathy there.
send anybody for sir and some for
If we could get somebody to you for that, then could get, I could get somebody to you at a designated time for that, then I would be able to get somebody to you at a designated time to get you unstuck. I can't. That's out of my control. What we do here in this room is we send out the information that you're stuck and that you need help, and then it goes through a whole other channel of people out to get you unstuck.
Yeah.
And so once I put that into the system,
you know how long the waiting for?
He was there for several more hours, by the way. Okay, he let's see, this call is at 2200. He wasn't picked up till 1300. I mean, 1:30 in the morning. Okay, this call's at 2200, which is 10 p.m. 10:20. Here's another call from him.
7247. Hey guys, I really need to go home. When can the bus come to help or the mechanic come to help? I'm really hungry. I want to use the bathroom.
Okay, last I heard, we have somebody heading your way, so hang tight. We got somebody heading.
Yeah, see, that's a more kind response. Give them hope at least. But you can hear how much suffering he's enduring. Now, this guy's an interesting character. I'd like to meet him. I remember, having watched this show, I consider it a show for consistently for so long. You kind of identify with some of these drivers. You start getting to know them via the scanner, believe it or not. And I remember when he first started over there, and he's having all these problems with riders who are not particularly kind. The bus people they're not kind. They living. How's the best way to put this? These are people that live very hard lives, and they have very little empathy for anybody. Okay, because they themselves are the victims of what's happening in the society, and so they can really be mean to the bus drivers. And if you're not psychologically ready for that, you can get killed. And he really went through a process, but he did it. He did break through it, and you don't hear those calls from him anymore. And now he's finding out just how fucking terrible that job can be. What's this?
Westside truck here on Burnside. We put chains on 4005. There is body damage when we arrived on the right side and no operator.
sorry, can you repeat, please? Last call, please repeat. Chains, please repeat.
Yeah, this is a Merlo sand truck. We picked up 4005 and we put chains on it. There is some body damage on the right rear panel and no operator, and we need to know what to do with this bus. It's in the road right now.
It's vehicle 4005. Vehicle 4005 on Northwest 23rd.
9116 is the one on Burnside and King, basically 22 and Burnside.
Yeah, that's blocking Burnside Avenue. Anyway, that's just a little part of the shit show for your entertainment. Over and out for this episode.